Hi, I'm James. I'm going to be talking about student loans today. So what are student loans? Well, the Merriam-Webster definition is a loan that is used to pay for a student's education. And why is that important? Well, because each year roughly 20 million Americans pull out student loans to pay for their tuition. About 12 million, or about 60% of those are the Stafford loan and the Perkins loans. So student loans have been helping people for hundreds of years, but in today's age, it might be doing us more of a disservice. So moving on to my next slide, we're going to be discussing the history and the background of student loans, the laws that influence the way loans are managed, and subsidized versus unsubsidized loans, and then we're going to move on to how to avoid student loans, etc. So moving on to my next slide, we're going to talk about the history. Well, in 1643, the first scholarship was established by Lady Anne Radcliffe Molson. In 1840, the first student loan program at Harvard was developed. Then about 100 or so years later, the Guaranteed Student Loan Program was created, and this was the direct precursor to the Stafford Loan Program in 1965. And that same year, the Educational Opportunity Grant Program, which was the precursor to the Pell Grant, came into effect as well. So I'm going to move on to the laws that influenced the way loans have been managed. So in 1958, the National Defense Education Act created the National Defense Student Loan Program, which was the precursor to the Perkins Loan Program. In 1965, the Higher Education Act authorized most federal student financial aid programs, including the Educational Opportunity Grant Program and the Guaranteed Student Loan Program, which was the Pell Grant and the Stafford Loan Program. This Higher Education Act basically created more funding and available funds to go into those things. In 1992, the Higher Education Amendment created FAFSA, which is what most students use to manage and delegate their student aid and their loans. So moving on to my next slide, I'm going to be talking about subsidized versus unsubsidized loans. A direct subsidized loan are only available to undergraduate students. The Perkins loans are available to undergraduate and graduate students as well. The eligibility to receive these loans are based on your parents' financial status or yourself if you're claiming an independent. The interest that you accrue during school is also going to be paid by the government, so you don't have to worry about paying those, which is definitely a plus. Now going into the unsubsidized, they're available to undergraduate and also graduate students, as well as the parents of undergraduate students, because a lot of times the parents pull out the loans for the child. Eligibility is not based on the financial status, which means rich, poor, ever in between. It does not matter. You can be eligible for the loan. And the borrower is responsible for paying all the interest opposed to the government paying the interest for the subsidized loan. So that concludes my portion of this segment. Seth's going to take over and talk more about subsidized and unsubsidized loans as well.
Although there are many types of different loans, just one type accounts for nearly 95% of all student loans, the Stafford loan. Federal direct loans, also known as Stafford loans, are available to any student who is enrolled in a school that participates in the Title IV Federal Student Aid Program. Today I will cover the driving reasons behind the popularity of the direct loans and what the loan process consists of, from application to repayment. I hope to alleviate any misunderstanding of what these student loans are intended to pay for and give some pointers as to where they are flexible. Two types of direct loans exist: subsidized and unsubsidized. Direct unsubsidized loans are awarded to undergraduates with demonstrated financial need, while direct unsubsidized loans are available to all students regardless of their financial circumstances. The use of these loans has grown rapidly since the economic downturn in 1998. And as you can see here, we've turned a $100 billion debt into a $1 trillion debt in just 8 years. The average 2016 college graduate owes over $37,000 in student loan debt. Why do students in need of financial support for college seek federal direct loans tenfold to all other loan types combined? Let's take a look at what makes federal direct loans so popular. Fast and easy application process. They do not require a credit check. Government pays the interest for subsidized direct loans. Low interest rates. Require a very limited amount of counseling. Stafford loans also have very flexible payment options. Okay, the application process. Here it is. Navigate to www.fasfa.gov. Complete the free application for federal student aid, known as a FAFSA, or renewal FAFSA for returning students. Receive a financial aid award letter from your school's financial aid office. This letter will summarize your available financial aid. Contact your school's financial aid office to accept the financial aid and student loans. Review and sign the master promissory note. That's it. Stafford loans are very flexible with their payment options. Payment responsibilities usually start as soon as 6 months after the student drops out or drops below half-time college status. This grace period is meant to give students a chance to find a job and begin earning income before being swamped with bills. Some of the stipulations behind federal direct loan repayment are equal payments over 10 years, increasing payments over 10 years, even or increasing payments over 25 years with loans over $30,000, income-sensitive payments, debt forgiveness, deferment, and forbearance. What should loan money be spent on? When you sign up for a federal direct loan, you agree to use the money for a cost of attendance, meaning that you shouldn't be using this money on vacations or any other unnecessary purchases. Cost of attendance is calculated through many factors. The values of some may even be negotiated. This can be a powerful tool in controlling your personal debt. The cost of attendance, as defined by the Higher Education Act of 1965, includes tuition and fees, room and board, including off-campus housing, books and supplies, transportation, cost of travel to and from school, but not for the purchase of a vehicle. Miscellaneous personal expenses, cost or rental or purchases of required equipment, materials and supplies, personal computer, if enrolled at least a half-time, dependent care expenses, disability-related expenses, loan fees, licensing and certification fees for students enrolled in programs, requiring the student to obtain professional licensing or certification, reasonable costs associated with study abroad program approved for credit at the student's home institution, expenses associated with cooperative education program. Okay, next slide. What can you negotiate? The following may be negotiated through your institution. If you keep all the receipts for purchase of all required equipment, materials, and supplies, with documentation of higher than allocated costs, you may be able to appeal your school for a possible adjustment to the cost of attendance and increase your loan amount. You may be able to appeal for your loan adjustment for other factors such as cost of living, dependent care expenses, and disability-related expenses. In closing, federal direct loans, sometimes known as Stafford loans, are the most popular student loan, and if mismanaged, can fall into default. We want students to be aware of the debt that these loans can create so that they can make the best possible decision when planning their financial future and payment for their education. This concludes my portion of the presentation. Please welcome James.
Hello, my name is James, and today we're going to talk about how to avoid student debt. There's 4 main topics I'm going to suggest. First, you can find money, make money, lower your tuition costs, and reduce your expenses. Next slide, please. Starting off with finding money, there's 4 aspects of this as well: grants, scholarships, military-based funding, and crowdfunding. Grants are typically found in FAFSA. They're often financially based needs, and they do not have to be paid back. Scholarship and cash awards. Scholarships are awards that are nearly anything. There are billions of dollars out there waiting to be applied for different scholarships. Like there's video game scholarships, horse scholarships. If you have hazel-colored eyes, you can get a scholarship for it. Really, there's just about anything you look into, so I'd recommend looking into that as well. Military-based funding, there's tuition assistance as well as GI Bill. This is kind of a last-minute term. If you want to take that aspect into your life, you can always join the military and go from there. And then crowdfunding, it's a new way of earning money for college. If you have friends, relatives who are always saying they can't wait for you to go to college and they'll do anything to help support you, this is an example you can look into. There's GoFundMe accounts as well as Indigos. People start GoFundMe accounts for anything. I mean, there's a GoFundMe account for helping Kanye West get out of debt. Next slide. Making money is the next step. As much as students dread about being told they need to work during college, it's just a thing you might need to do. There's different ways you can make it less painful while you're doing that as well, as a part-time job. When looking for a part-time job, you should look for something that's flexible, works with your school schedule. They don't really require late hours, so you don't have to stay up all night and wake up super early in the morning for work, as well as something that offers a decent wage. Minimum wage is it's a wage, but there's a lot of things out there that would be part-time for $10, $11, $12 an hour as well. And the best thing is find something that has a positive work atmosphere. Don't go into a job every day that you hate, because that's just going to reflect on your school as well. Don't think too much about the standard 8 to 5 p.m. job, because that's not the only option. There's different unique ways. You can house sit, you can drive an Uber, you can tutor in the best subject you're good at. Babysitting, pet sitting is also always something you can do. As well as if you got a lot of old things, I would recommend selling your old belongings you don't use anymore. Your old laptops, your old clothes, just things like that. And another big thing many people don't know, you can also apply for work-study jobs on campus, and that can help go towards your tuition. Next slide, please. Lowering tuition cost is the next step. It's the third way to graduate without student debt. To take a good way to lower your tuition costs is to basically take all your general ed classes and things first at a local community college. It's a lot easier. Usually it's around $1,300, so around $6,000, $5,000 a year in tuition compared to a university who's upwards in the $30,000. You can take college level examination programs. It's the CLEP. Basically what it is exams you can receive college credit without even having to take the class. You can test out of it. High school students, if they're still looking at college, like ahead of time, they can take advanced placement classes or an IB, which is an international bachelorette. It basically gives you college credit while you're in high school. And there's also a thing you can do. You can take a dual enrollment class, which basically helps you graduate with your high school degree as well as your associate's degree. Next slide, please. The fourth and final cost would be to reduce your expenses. This can kind of be a very typical thing people look for, but you don't have to reduce your expenses so low that you don't enjoy your life. Students, you can leave your car at home. You can take the bus. This saves you a great bit of money just by cutting out the common expenses such as gas, car insurance, parking passes, maintenance, and much, much more. You can make your rent more affordable. It's said that you shouldn't spend more than 30% of your income on rent. You can look for the more affordable dorm instead of having the fancier apartment. Look for housing farther away from campus, as well as have multiple roommates. It basically splits the cost up. You can actually also live at home if you're going to one of your local community colleges. I would recommend that. Not many people want to live at home. They can't wait to get out of the house, but it saves you a lot of money at rent for the first couple years in college. The final thing would be to do is reduce your food expenses. Me personally, I used to go out to eat every single day, and $10 a day seems like nothing, but it adds up. It adds up. Soon you're spending $300 a month just on food. Opt rather to cook at home instead of eat out. I mean, it can help you later on in life as well. Coupons and money back apps are a great thing. Every time you buy something, scan it, and it gives you points towards money back as well. Also, if you're in a college that gives you free meals or a meal card, utilize that. You really need to use that to basically make sure that you're using all of your money that you have worth. Get some of the things that don't perish. Get like some snacks or some drinks, even some fruit because it does last a while. And then things that just don't go bad, keep them in your dorm room for some snacks every now and again. And this is just going to conclude our brief on student debt. Thank you for your time, and I really hope it gave you some enjoyable information to help you further on in your college experience.